Hello everyone, and welcome to this first episode of Trains and Trams with Charlie. I'm going to introduce Charlie in a moment. My name's Jay, but enough of me. Charlie, over to you. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, this is the Trains and Trams, and I think we'll start off with when I got into trams.
Yeah.
Well, trains and trams.
Absolutely. So, first thing I was going to say is you're Charlie, of course,
Yeah.
and when did you get into trains and trams?
That's impossible to tell because I've always been into them, and I've always been visiting train museums.
So from as far back as you remember,
Yes.
you've always sort of had this interest in trains and trams.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And have you been anywhere in particular?
One of my favourite places I've been to is the Seaton Tramway.
Okay, I can see Seaton Tramway, but can you explain that to the listeners? What's it like? I've never been there, and imagine you're listening to this and you've never been there. What's it like?
So, Seaton is in Devon, which is near Cornwall, so it's quite a nice coast.
Mm-hmm.
And the tramway goes from Seaton into near Exeter,
Okay.
which is quite big for trains. And then there's many trams. There's O2, which is just a works tram. And then the one we went on, I think, was O5.
Okay.
And that's one of the London trams.
Oh, okay.
And there's 2 stopping places for trams to pass each other, with 3 stations across the whole place. It starts off near a fossil museum, and then ends at a preserved station.
Are there many stops along the way?
2, and then the station. And the station has been preserved from when there was an actual railway running there.
Oh, my goodness me. That's incredible. I've got a real passion for the history of trains and what it did and trams, of course, and how it connected people, because that's what it was doing, right?
Yes.
It was offering a way of people to get about, to go from, as we say today, A to B. I mean, when you went on this line, did you stop off at all these places?
We only stopped off at the first station near the Fossil Museum and the preserved station.
Oh, okay. And what was your view on the stops? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was very good. The first station is really good because they have all the trams in the tram house.
Okay.
And then the station at the end is also good because they have a really good cafe there.
Awesome. So you got to the cafe.
Yeah.
What did you have? Can you remember?
I had a hot chocolate and I think a pasty. Nice.
Classic hot chocolate. You should always have one of those if you've been on a tram or a train. Now, is there anywhere else that you perhaps might want to go in the future?
Hopefully this year I'll be able to go to the Snowdon Railway.
Okay, tell us all about that. So, from Seaton to Snowdon, what's Snowdon all about?
Snowdon is a mountain railway in Wales, and that's narrow gauge. Most of the trains are still steam trains as well, but some of them are diesel. And the track was developed to have a third track in the middle that has cog pins in it, so the trains can climb the mountain easier. And all the steam trains also have to have slanted boilers, so the water doesn't all go to one end when going up the mountain.
Well, that would be disastrous, wouldn't it? I think that was a big issue when they were, designing trains and trams to get uphill. How do we do that? Of course, that's a great insight into how they did it. Well done. Is there anything else you know about the Snowdon area?
There was once an accident a while ago. I can't remember how long ago, but it was around in the 1920s-ish, I think.
My goodness.
Might not be. Might have been further ago. But one of the trains came off the pins and started rolling down the hill. they couldn't stop it, and the actual train went off the edge of the cliff and then was found 800 feet down as flat as a pancake.
My goodness. And I'm sure there's been lots of safety measures put in since, right? So something that hasn't happened for a long time. Thank goodness. Now, from Seaton to Snowdon in the future, have you got any favourite trams?
I think my favourite tram would probably be the Blackpool balloon tram, because it's the type of tram that I got my first ever model of.
Mm-hmm.
I got an 00 gauge Blackpool balloon tram from my Uncle David.
Oh my goodness me. And is that one of the ones you could bring in one time?
Yeah, I could do that.
Maybe we can talk about that next week and document, you know, what that's all about. Are there any other favourite trams?
There's I can't remember where it is, but the coal trams are quite good. They're just converted trucks to have a generator to turn the wheels.
Uh-huh.
And they carry coal from the mine into the station.
Mm-hmm. So this is a huge thing where we're sort of finding out that trams were used for work, and they were used for leisure as well, so people could get from one place to a holiday destination. Of course, a lot of those Blackpool trams, I'm pretty sure from going to a place called Carlton Colville. Have you ever been there?
No.
That's in Suffolk somewhere. I think it's near Lowestoft, and they've got a Blackpool tram. I can't remember the age of it, but you've got all the whole roof is pretty much glass, so people could go sightseeing in it. Is that similar to the Blackpool balloon, or is that very different?
Oh, the Blackpool balloon tram is double decker and doesn't normally have a see-through top, but they were quite streamlined, as you could put it, because they would have a slanted front that would go up and everything was curved. There were no straight edges.
Oh, okay. That's real craftsmanship as well, to create something like that. Is that something you like about the trams, is like how they're built?
Yeah, definitely. The trams as well, and they normally had seats in them that the backs of the seats you could change direction of them, so that you could sit facing one way or sit facing the other.
I think that's awesome. That's so cool. Of course, we have to go back all that way to when trams first came about. People weren't necessarily used to travelling with each other, you know. It was either you had, well, a horse and cart, and if you didn't, I don't know how you would have got there, really. It was, it really revolutionised how we could get about. But of course, we said this is trains and trams. We should move on to trains as well. So what do you have any favourite trains?
My favourite trains would probably be the NS 3600 Poatvus, which is a special version of the NS 3600 converted to be more streamlined.
Okay.
Or I think my favourite train would have to be the NBS 118, which, if it was in the NS livery, would be green and have a 6-wheeled tender, whereas if it was in the NBS, it would be blue and have an 8-wheel tender. Okay.
That's super cool. Can I ask, let's get back to that NS 3600. Is that how you say it? NS 3600. Where would you find this train? Is it in the UK, across Europe? Where is it in America? Where is it?
You would find all the NS trains in the Netherlands, because NS stands for Nederlandisch Spoorwagen.
Okay.
And that was the company. I can't remember what two companies, but two companies merged to create NS. Mm-hmm. And they've created small little diesels called the NS 100 to about the NS 4000, I think it goes. It probably goes further, but I can remember up to the 4000.
That's really cool, because not last year, but the year before, I was in the Netherlands. I visited a friend in a little place called Utrecht, and I went on a double-decker train. Would that have been an NS train, do you think?
Yeah, NS is still the predominant company for there. I think that would have probably been the NS Coupler. I think that's how you say it. But they do quite a lot of double-decker trains now.
Really good trains, I've got to say. compared to like the train I used to get from Ipswich to Felixstowe as a kid, this blows it out of the water. Folks, you've got to check out NS trains. Really, really cool. But as well as NS trains that we're talking about, the NBS, where would we find those?
You would also find them in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I can't remember what NBS stands for, but they were kind of around just after the wartime.
Oh, okay.
So in about the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
They were quite long. They had if I remember correctly, they had a 280 wheel base, and the piston rods of the NBS colour would be red and the boiler blue, so they looked pretty cool as well.
Cool. Super cool. We're going to put some images of these trains to the artwork to the podcast, Charlie, so people can have a look and see what we've been talking about, which is really cool. We've got to go down that road. We've got to, as we were saying, we're taking off. We're going to land now. Is there anything else you want to mention about trains and trams in this episode, or anything that you want to cover in a future episode?
In a future episode, I would hope to do more about my Uncle David, because he makes model trams out of cereal boxes.
My goodness, is there any way we can see any of these?
I might be able to bring one in, yes. Or I could take a picture and send it to you.
Absolutely, bring it in. Not this episode though. This is a tease link for the next episode that's going to be coming out, Trains and Trams with Charlie. But of course, it's not just trains and trams, is it? Because we were talking about the 4 Ts. So we might actually have some other modes of transport. What were the other modes of transport that you'd been looking at?
I also quite like trolley buses, which are still quite predominant in Russia. Mm-hmm. But I also like tanks as well.
Tanks and trolley buses coming up in future episodes. We've got to say goodbye for now though, Charlie. It's a goodbye from me. I've been Jay. Lovely to speak.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.